Starlings in Winter by Mary Oliver. Chunky and noisy, but with stars in their black feathers, they spring from a telephone wire, and instantly they are acrobats in the freezing wind. And now in the theater of air, they swing over buildings. Dipping and rising, they float like one stippled star that opens, becomes for a moment fragmented, then closes again. And you watch, and you try, but you simply can't imagine how they do it. With no articulated instruction, no pause, only the silent confirmation that they are this notable thing, this wheel of many parts that can rise and spin over and over again, full of gorgeous life. Ah, world, what lessons you prepare for us, even in the leafless winter, even in the ashy city. I am thinking now of grief and of getting past it. I feel my boots trying to leave the ground. I feel my heart pumping hard. I want to think again of dangerous and noble things. I want to be light and frolicsome. I want to be improbable, beautiful, and afraid of nothing, as though I had wings. This poem is very important to me. This year was my freshman year, and I went in with the full confidence that I was going to be a surgeon. The goal was 100% to major in neuroscience and take all the probable steps to go to medical school. However, I realized that I wasn't happy. I was really bored. I was stressed out way too much. My anxiety was higher than it has ever been. I was very unhappy. I wanted to leave tech, the school that I now know I love more than anything. I decided that I needed a change, but this was really hard. I knew pretty much my entire life, I knew that I wanted to be a surgeon. So it was really hard for me to make the decision that that's not what I was supposed to be. It was really hard to make the change to the next major. But I found that I really loved sports media and analytics. I found that this was what set my soul on fire. This is what made me happy. But again, this was a difficult decision to make. I love Mary Oliver, so I read her poetry quite a lot. And when I was making this decision, before I had signed the papers officially, I read this poem. And the line, "I want to think again of dangerous and noble things," really spoke to me. I was bored. I wasn't happy with life, honestly. I needed something different. I wanted to do something dangerous, something noble. So I made that decision, and this poem helped me make that. And now my life is so much better. I'm so happy with what I'm studying, and I know that this was the right choice I made. And it's wonderful that I had a poem that was able to show me that. As far as the aesthetic appeal of this poem, there's many different parts of it that are very, in my opinion, beautiful. I like the way she goes about describing the flights of the birds. She describes them using many adjectives like chunky and noisy, and then funny ones like stars and their black feathers. I really like that she uses the very beginning of this poem and spends the entire time describing how the birds are flying, what they look like, and the actions they take. Then she goes on to question how they're able to do this, how they're able to be so free. And then she goes a little farther and starts talking about comparing them to other things, how that they can fly in the leafless winter or in the ashy city. And she wants to be able to do this too. She wants to be able to be free and fly wherever. And I think that's very wonderful. There is some repetition in here, like for example, then close again, and you watch, and you try. And also, even in the leafless winter, even in the ashy city. She uses this in the middle of her stanzas because it is a way for her to focus you back to pay attention to her poem in case you've lost interest. When I did first change my major, although I was so happy to be covering sports games and finally learning something that made me excited again, there was a bit of grief. It was as though I was mourning the loss of something that I had clung to for so long that was wrong for me. And it was hard because it was like, this isn't an actual thing. I didn't lose someone important to me, but I lost a piece of myself, or so it felt like. But in reality, I realized that I found a part of myself that had been missing, something that would make my life so much better. So I really related to the lines that say, I am thinking now of grief and of getting past it. I realized there was no reason to mourn this life that wasn't meant for me. There was no reason to sit around and be like, what if? What if? What if I hadn't took this big decision? That's what I needed to be focusing on. So I agree when she says, I feel my boots trying to leave the ground. Because I'm at that point in my life now that I've made this decision and my boots are fully on the ground. And it's time for me to go forward, and I'm ready for this new adventure. I'm ready to be free, improbable, beautiful, and afraid of nothing.